Good morning, Sunday campers. I hope you had a great week. Today, we're going to be talking about a narrative that comes from the Old Testament, focusing on Jacob wrestling God. Now, Jacob is one of the sons of Isaac and Rebekah, and his story goes like this. Jacob was the youngest son of Isaac and Rebekah. Jacob was favored by his mother, while his brother was favored by his father. When Isaac was close to death, he asked his older son to hunt and kill some wild game for him, to eat with the promise that when he returned, Isaac would bless him. Now, in the Old Testament, blessings of a father could include promising words of inheritance or prophesying the future of their son or daughter. While his older son was out hunting, Rebekah helped Jacob disguise himself, and he tricked Isaac into giving him the blessing instead of his older brother. When his brother returned home and discovered that Jacob had received their father's blessing and a large inheritance, the brother was determined to kill Jacob. And so, as a human being, Jacob fled from his homeland, and he lived for 20 years in Laban before deciding to return home and restore peace with his brother. Now, it was on that journey that Jacob was wrestling with God. He ran to protect himself, which is an innate desire and decision that many of us would make as human beings. But God wrestled with Jacob, telling him, go home and seek peace with your brother. Be in peace for a glorious and prosperous future. And so Jacob decides to go back. But in that time, he encounters a stranger. And that stranger and him begin to wrestle. They're wrestling on the ground. Kind of imagine what maybe a high school wrestling match would look like, because that's pretty much what this is, with the exception of the uniforms. Now they're wrestling, and Jacob begins to realize that he's not really wrestling this other person, but rather he's wrestling God, who told him to go home and seek peace with his brother. And so after that reflection, that realization, Jacob gets up and goes home to his brother, and they reconcile. And in that time, and on his way home, he heard God say that he would change his name from Jacob to Israel, meaning strives for God. So Jacob did have to go through some wrestling with God, but eventually he came to God's will, and that's something each and every one of us will struggle with. Are we going to do our will and flee like Jacob did, or are we going to be confident in God's faith and his plan for us and do his will? So today, that's my question for you. Will we seek God's will, or will we seek our own? It is my hope and prayer that each of us will choose God's, and the way we do that is by praying with him. So let's stick with our 4-minute prayer challenge every day, and whether that's just sitting down, listening to some relaxing Christian music, maybe it's just taking a few deep breaths and meditating, thinking upon the gifts that God's given to each of us. Or maybe yet, it's simply just saying, in our Father, or maybe it's listening to Pastor Scott's sermons, which are pretty great. So check it out and choose one that can really help you grow closer to God in what he plans for your life, which is a life full of hope, love, and joy. So our activity today to demonstrate wrestling with God is a little bit different. You're going to need 3 people for this activity. So one person will be the judge to make sure there is a fair declared winner, and then you're going to need 2 people to actually perform the wrestling match. So when you do this, I have a video linked below for you that you can watch that gives a more visual description of how you will do it. But 3 people, 1 is a judge and 2 is the participants, that will be laying flat on their backs with their upper bodies right next to each other. You'll put your arm across your chest, and then you'll have your legs crossed, and whoever gets the other one's leg down first wins. So again, it's very important to have a judge there to make sure it's fair and make sure everybody's safe. I look forward to seeing how these turn out for you guys. Please send me some videos of them, and if not, I'll see you guys next week.
That are willing to try something. Okay, go ahead, Aviva. And Rob. Okay, have a seat. And you like training back? You like that thing? You know how to do this?
Yeah, I do. We're gymnastics all the time.
All right, excellent. Yeah, so these are games that you can do as part of a unit or in different situations. So what you want to do is elbow to elbow. You want to be elbow to elbow. And I tell the kids it's really important to make sure that your hand is on your chest. Really close. Really close like this. Because if your hand is by your side, sometimes you'll twist your arm. So the third person is for the judge. And you put your inside leg up. You put your inside leg up.
I do hip to hip.
Sorry?
I do hip to hip.
Hip to hip. Oh yeah?
Because I can't twist my leg around.
Okay, well we get it. You want to move back? Move back. But I'm just worried about your hand if it's down there.
But then I can't reach him.
Okay. Anyway, I do it walking the elbows. And then I have the kids learn to count in Inuktitut. So a tausi is 1. A tausi, masu, and pinasu. Grade 6 is like that one. I didn't realize Mars was a little fly. Pingasu. You love pingasu. So, when I say pingasu, you are going to push that way, you're going to push that way, and try to get the person off. Kelsey, Marku, pingasu.